Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to American Truck Simulator. I'm gonna kind of maybe stop referring to the specific name. You know what you're here for. It's the Extreme Edition, along with a bunch of other things. So I'm going to talk about a major change we're doing here in episode 8. So kind of a good time after we've gotten through the first week of trying to do this mod. But one of the things I thought was, anytime we're doing this, like, the more places we have to deliver, the better. So with that in mind, I've expanded the map, and I've gone ahead and, put together something that, again, I can't claim full creative rights on this. There's a source I found that he basically, his whole channel is about giving you giant map combos that seem to work. So this is a extraction of that, but there are things in the map combo that were recommended that I am not using. So again, we're not using Reforma down in Mexico. We're not using ProMods Canada because I've just not been that thrilled with either of. Well, Reforma's good. I'm not going to say that, but driving in Mexico became a bit of a challenge. So I'm not going to go there, and I don't need to go there with what we've got going on. Because as we work through this, the other thing we're going to have is we're going to have, obviously, other maps get added. We don't have official Louisiana yet. Obviously, Illinois is being worked on. Dakotas or South Dakota's going along. There are things in the works that will continue to expand the map. But the thing that I was really pleased to find, which I did not realize, is there is a modder. I think it's My Godness is the name that they go by. Sounds like they're French. Their main language is French, so maybe they're French Canadian. I don't know. I can't guarantee they're from France. And there's other countries other than Quebec and in Canada and France that speak French. I get that. So we'll just leave it there. I'm trying again not to be insensitive to non-U.S. interests or so forth, and obviously I've brought that up more in my ETS series where I'm trying to sound intelligent, and I'm sure there's Europeans listening to me like, this guy's a moron. If we go in here, for example, in California, you can see there's a lot of cities, and they don't all have deliveries, but some of them are just, you've got a Dollar General and you've got a Dollar Tree. They're little additions. But once again, this was one of these things when I kind of came across it, and so I spent a good amount of time yesterday adding just small groups of maps, because there's more city maps for each state that they've completed. Now again, they've just recently done Nevada, but it doesn't get released into the free circuit until like mid-October, so in another week or something. So I'll add things in as they become available, but I'm not going to add significantly more. So obviously, what we've got, we're now extending across the U.S. So as you might expect, the coast-to-coast map is here. But the coast-to-coast map basically, I think, we can call it the connective tissue, the circulatory system of our trucking empire. But again, like, this is exactly what I was talking about, is there's a lot of roadways. But the thing that's interesting, and I think that it might be what changed between, I think, like I said, I think there was a person called Mantrid that was doing coast to coast when I was using it in the series. And coast to coast had cities, but the first thing I did, the first thing I did was try the more cities, and I added those and was like, wow, this is actually kind of nice. Because on top of the ATS expansion, like, this is even more. So, I think in Texas they added 70 some cities. In California, I think they have like 107, or maybe it's flipped. It might be 107 cities in Texas and 70 some in California. But either way, if you go look for that, and those are available in Truckee, and I'll try to link once again. I don't have that many So I'm going to try to remember to put that into the description so that anybody who wants to kind of recreate this for their own play can do so. You kind of would have to go and look at the load order and so forth, because I think those do come into it, because that was part of the problem I had before, is I'm like regularly looking for things and it was just a pain. I wanted to step away from that and go ahead and do something that was workable, but they had a lot of other additional mods that were like adding freight yards in certain cities. So there was like a freight yard in Texarkana and in Fort Collins and so it was like, all right, before again I get things that aren't that impactful, but then could stop suddenly being updated or working. And that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of people create those little singular mods, are like, oh, well, this will work forever, and they just kind of vanish and don't pay attention, and they don't always do so. So there was some intentionality in my choices here of things that seemed built in ways that were going to be workable. So, like, for example, there is a Project Arizona, because there isn't a More Cities Arizona yet, that adds some things in Arizona, but it requires pieces of Reforma. So if you're not running Reforma, I think it required Reforma Mega Resources. And so if you're not running that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But all of this is to be said. The reason and the logic for this is, if I'm running lots and lots of loads, which is what this is going to drive, the Extreme Edition is going to be hundreds, thousands of loads if we go through and just keep on with it and keep progressing. Having more places to deliver is just going to make it easier to find loads and so forth. The other piece that I am going to do, I've had comments that, yes, we show the episodes. I love seeing the driving. This is kind of what this kind of series is about, is just doing that. And that's kind of what I figured. Like, anybody who's going to want this, they're like, they felt update episodes were not, that's what they didn't like, that they saw that other people were doing, because they're like, okay, they're running 40 loads offline, and then they're just telling me where they're at, and they're sharing a load with me. So that just isn't a whole lot of fun for folks, and I get that, because you're not going through that. But again, for the realism portion of it, they did suggest that we go ahead and just continue from nearby where we were before. This works out really well, because by adding all of these maps back in and changing things, basically we did trigger the, hey, something major is different, so we're going to reset your truck and cancel any pending deliveries. I never leave pending deliveries for that, but that puts us back into our garage in Abilene as the location. So we are going to take a job from Abilene, and then going forward, I'm going to go ahead and just work from where I'm at. But that was the other thing that really made this an easy choice of, hey, if I've got all of this stuff right around here, I'm no longer like, because before I had to go kind of Abilene to San Angelo, then to Fort Stockton, and yes, then I jumped around a few places. So we'll get to them when we get to them back in that area. But that is the changes in tone and so forth. I'm not anticipating, I don't have anything else pending in my head like, ooh, I'd like to do this. And again, I don't have Discover Ontario. That was some other things that they had included, which I know really fleshes this area out, but I don't really have a target of even getting to Canada. But if we get up there and jobs go up there, I'll go up there. But keep in mind, so that this is east meets north, I think, is part of what this is. So I think that does a lot of things out here. And that was really what it was, where if I just put in coast to coast, so I didn't finish explaining that, there were really no cities. So until I added east meets north, which my understanding is that kind of replaced Midwest expansion, which is what gave us a lot of the stuff here in the locations that we don't have official SCS maps on. But this north part is this. And to me, I would say this has more than ProMods Canada had, which is partially why I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with ProMods Canada. Because the development on that has been really sporadic. I mean, the one thing I do know they have is they have like Vancouver Island pretty fleshed out and stuff, but we got plenty, as you can see. We've got plenty. Now, the only problem is it seems to have broken my ability to click on places, kind of do a navigation thing. The other piece that someone did mention, and that's why that comes up in my mind, is they said showing on the map where we're going will be something they would enjoy because it will let them anticipate where we're going. And especially with all these cities here, I think that'll be even better. So with all that said, let's find a job. Okay, so I think partially there isn't much going from Abilene to cities that aren't just part of the SCS map. I think Plainview is something that is either part of ATS expansion or part of More Cities, Texas. So I'm going to take this, even though it's a little longer, because I was initially thinking, well, I'll do a really short run, because there was a job that was kind of interesting. But it's probably worth going a little bit further just to go through a few more locations. But I was trying to keep the episode round to half an hour again because of the long introduction that I had. But hopefully you'll stick around for, maybe 45 minutes and everything will be good. All right, so I had to make some adjustments so that I could do what I've been asked to do. But we're going to go here from Abilene. Looks like we're going to go down I-20 and then basically take I-80 or US Route 87 up through from there through Big Spring, Lubbock, and deliver to Plainview, which is going to be, so it's the Lone Star Cotton, because yes, we are delivering cotton lint. So I'm almost positive then this is going to be an ATS expansion city there. But Big Spring, maybe something. So my understanding is what, to some degree, we'll get going here. Let's start up, get all our lights on. So my understanding here, let me go do a quick walk around. Headlights are good. All the other lights seem fine. All right, so cotton lint. Looks like it's in little bundles. It's an articulated load again. Didn't really look at that. I was kind of looking where I was going. But everything looks solid. We've got our lights there on the dolly, on the back. Side lights, those lights are on. Everything looks good. So we've got to go ahead and go to the left here. All right. So we're going to get ourselves going. Just want to make sure I'm clear enough there. Wait for the gate to open. Whoa. Alright, so 247. Telling me it should be about 13 minutes, so maybe things won't be too bad. Maybe it will be close to the half hour. Maybe we won't be pushing 45, but we'll see. Alright, looks like we're clear there. Interesting that Vestas is still showing up, because I'm definitely running the Real Economy mod. Or not Real Economy, duh. Of course I'm running the Real Economy mod. But no, we're running the Real Companies and Billboards mod. Nothing's changed there. But yeah, I've got to be careful because just because the roadway is blocked for me, vehicles can still come from there. Alright, he was turning. I'm like, he did not slow down. I did not like what I was seeing there. Alright, I'm not that familiar with this. It's miles per gallon. There's really not much I guess, so it doesn't really matter what I've got up there for you, so I'll do that. We also talked about the jobs are pretty tight, so it's challenging to sleep, because then we're automatically late. So that seems to be part of what's going on. So hope you'll forgive the fact that obviously we will be driving through the night, things like that. And again, once we get our own truck, that will change because, in theory, those jobs should hopefully accommodate that. That would be kind of crazy if they didn't, but I think they would. Right, so we're going to turn right, and then I assume we're just going underneath here, and we're getting onto the highway. So I will say this, just that segment alone, again, I don't know if part of the map mods did some of that, but the frontage road and then like getting to the point where I can actually get on the highway, that happens all the time with trucking or anything. I mean, if you've ever taken a road trip, you know how that works. It's like, oh, I gotta go a mile before I can get onto the interstate.
Get ready to turn
And so,
left.
and we were just paralleling the interstate, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, what I was starting to say before I got out and did my truck inspection, not expansion, mixing up things because I've got a bunch going through my head as always. One of the things they had mentioned, the More Cities person, was they took a lot of the basically towns that were already on the map that were decorative, and I think that's literally the term they use, the decorative towns. And, whoops, again, we gotta get up to speed. Alright, we can go 75, so we will do that. I'm gonna have to double check that I have truck limit on here. I'm pretty sure I do. Again, it would not surprise me in Texas that they're like, yep, wide open for the road for our truckers. But I'm just so used to World of Trucks restricting us. There's cows right there, I thought. World of Trucks restricting us to 65, that it's just odd when I can go faster than that. But there's obviously no reason not to go faster than that. You stay in your lane. Alright. So again, we know we're going on I-20 to Big Springs, or Big Spring, maybe. It might not be, there might not be an S. And we're going to join up there. So, you know, and again, we've got trucks on the frontage road, like, pretty neat how it's all working out. But yeah, anyway, I was just, alright, I need to stop hopping around. But yes, he talked about the decorative towns and just making them active, in essence, by creating a delivery point in there. And as you saw very quickly, like, some of them are just what you'd expect in a little town. There's a Dollar General and a Dollar Tree and whatever. Living in a smaller town here where we are now, yep, there's a Dollar General like half a mile from me, and I think it's it's the one in town. Obviously trucks are coming there, so yeah, there may not be a bunch of delivery points like we see in a city, but still it adds and enhances that reality of trucks are needed all over the place. And so I'm hoping that all of this combination is really actually going to make this series quite interesting. So I hope you'll follow along. I hope you'll keep doing that and keep joining me. And we're not going to have long explanations every time. Most of this is going to start turning into driving, but this is kind of the birth pains of something new like this. It's really just kind of tweaking things, getting it to where it feels right.
Right. And then exit right.
And I feel I'm really, really close to that now. So hopefully it'll just be
Exit
show
right.
up, see what we're doing today, and enjoy the ride. Alright.
Get ready to turn right.
Alright, so yeah, I'll tell you, the brakes are more challenging with the air brake simulation on. I do feel like I'm running up on people, so I've got to be a lot more careful and really drive more appropriately. So, right. Still early, it's 4:35, so as we might expect, the road's kind of empty. I want to make sure nobody sneaks into the right side before I move over, and and that's the thing, like, there may have been this location before, because of the rest area was probably part of SCS. But now they've created a town, and there's probably like a Dollar Tree or something that they added in here. So it's pretty neat the way that is. So let's see. We're there. Right, 55. So I'm not going to go crazy, but I went at least 75 on the roadway. So again, we've got a town still on the way that we should discover that again is going to have. Yeah, so I think it's this Kiewit that they may have placed in here, because this would not have been an active town, but now, we've got that construction site. It's pretty interesting. Oh, wow. If this wasn't here before, they certainly fleshed it out pretty nicely, because it actually makes sense. I'm like, why are they putting highway pillars up in the middle of nowhere? But they had like one side like coming in like they're building a new roadway. So well done if that is an add-on, and that's going to be the part, like, I'm not going to be able to guarantee what's new, what's not. But the thing I liked is I have not seen until I came across these map combo videos from this individual, and all they really do is just tell you, here are the combos we're using, and kind of quickly show you the map like I did, and just kind of talk about them a little bit, like what's where. And obviously there's things they had that I'm not using, but and then they show you the load order that they're recommending that seems to work. So there's not much to these videos. It's not like they're actually showing you anything. You have to pay attention, because I do not want to get in trouble. I mean, the goal here, I've always had the goal of 2 weeks without any problems, any tickets or anything. Whoops. So I can go 40. I got to pay more attention to the changes in speed limits and stuff as we enter into towns. Right, so now we can go up to 50. And again, that's why I've got this now just going up a mile an hour, so that I can increment nicely. And if, I want to go a mile or two faster sometimes. Oh, wow. So it's going to let us go to 75 here. But it's pretty much a straight roadway. But the problem we're going to have then is we're going to hit a town and we're going to have to drop to like 30 or 40. It's going to be a little crazy. But once again, down to 103 miles, so we're almost there. But what I was starting to share is, in Euro Truck, I'm used to kind of overlays, because ProMods has been around there, and it's so extensive, and it's been there for so long that people work around the map. But I've not come across anything like that for ATS. I've just found more. I mean, there's been some where it's like, oh, we're doing like these 3 cities in Virginia. Like, I think I had Project Mid-Atlantic or something at one point that basically did like Hagerstown and a couple other things over there in Maryland and stuff like that.
Go straight.
So I've seen that, but to focus on a broader area and, like, again, give you a plop in for the state with the more cities thing, I love that, because that is what brings this world way, way more alive. I mean, not that it wasn't alive before, but really, really enjoying how this, I think, is going to play out, and just the experience I've been having thus far. I will certainly let you know if my experience gets worse in some way. But, alright, so there's Lubbock. That's the in-between. Again, this may have been one that was on the map already. Alright, we are getting a little slower. It is 6 a.m. keep in mind, again, if you're new to the series and you're like, it's 6 a.m., where's the sun? Like, the sun's always out by 6 a.m. in ATS. Part of what we get with the GDC real economy mod, and that's where, again, people, I've had commenters who are like, hey, I'm not that interested in hard economy. There's so much more to this mod. Part of it is day and year, and they just introduced the dynamic that it's much more active and kind of just syncs up a little bit more on its own, so that it's not just update to update. But even if it was update to update, that's way more than it was. And so yes, it is September/October in the game with time, and therefore sun's not up yet. I know the sunrise here where we're at, and again, Texas is probably Central Time in this part of Texas, so they're not in our time zone. But for us, sun's rising a good amount after 7 a.m. right now. And then again, it's rising by the time it gets really, nice daylight and all. It's 8 o'clock. So, and if you have clouds, which we don't, because we can see the stars, so it's a cloudless night. But yeah, it's just darker. So just want to make sure nobody's merging. We don't have a problem, but we're 40 miles away, so we're just about there. Next exit, I'm sure. Plainview, 27. And if they had to go place these signs and stuff, like, bravo on the modder. Like, if they're dynamic or something, which would be awesome if SCS, made something like that in anticipation that modders might add something, and then it's like, oh, the sign will pick up different points. Okay, VW bus. Yeah, I don't want to go by because I'm worried we're gonna have to exit soon, but he really was going pretty slow. But luckily, it's not that hard to pull. So yeah, when I found all this, in between, because there's been a good gap of, I don't know, a couple days at least, between when I filmed episode 7 and today, that I've been doing other things. You're going to see stuff come to the channel over time. It's going to be later than this. This is probably going to show up first. But I did some one-on-one map. I tried my first one-to-one map, which was nuts in multiple ways. That'll be a really long video, but I don't know that that's going to turn into a series. You can deal with that when that one shows up, but it's been trucking sim stuff that I've been poking around with for the most part. But I have also gone ahead, because I felt, it was inexpensive enough.
Right.
I have grabbed Seafarer, the ship sim that just came out, and I'm intending to look at that.
Exit right.
I don't know about today, because I think I do need to do my NASCAR flight, because I've got a long one, and that's going to take 2-3 hours. So I probably, just to not stress myself out, want to do that. So I think what I'm doing is this load,
Turn left.
and then I'm doing this load, and then I'm doing my golf round, and then I'm doing my flight. And if I have time later, so be it. But so I might look at Seafarer today, but again, by the time I edit videos and whatever, don't know when you might see my first look or experience there, and that's starting up. It's got mainly negative reviews, but I'm willing. It was on sale for $19.99 from $25, so it was off. I think it was 20% discounted or something. And it's, they've said it's early access, so I'm willing to go ahead for something unique like that. And can't tell. Did he stop? He did. But he's going, as I figured he would be. I'd rather not do that and break immersion, but I don't know that I could see him out my window. So I don't know why it's dancing like that. I promise you I'm not having a seizure with my head, and my eye tracking should not be doing that. But now you can see 726 starting to lighten up a bit. Sun's starting to come up. We're getting that dawn look. Obviously the lights are still on. But alright, so not here yet. Looks like probably
Get
up
ready
by
to turn right.
that location. Well, we're gonna have to do almost a
Turn
U-turn here. So again, Lone Star Cotton Company. Ooh, they've got that signpost, so. But yeah, there's just gonna be so many different
You have
places
arrived
to
at your
deliver to. Alright, I'm thinking we need to go here. So I have discovered a problem. New passage map updated. What does that mean? So let me see. Alright, I'm gonna see if I can go around. I think I can. Because the line across the back means that's the back of my load. I had one that was against a dock that showed up that way. But again, I had articulated trailers. Like, there's no way to back those in that way. So I couldn't get the parking bonus. So I'm going to leave this feature on that lets me skip parking. Because otherwise we can absolutely get into situations where we can't effectively park. So, but yeah, like this will let me come in this way, so I should be okay as long as I don't get stuck on the cotton header there. That was a bit nutty. It's a little hard to position myself here, but I think we're okay. So let's see. Yep, I'm in the line, so it's just, is my load gonna line up straight enough that it's gonna give it to me? I hope so. But we're obviously not across the back yet of where we want this. There we go. All right. Beautiful. Set the parking brake. And we'll head on out here and we'll deliver our load. Oh, we got cotton bloom. Very nice. All right. So 423, you can see we're making progress. So one of the things I did see with some of the stuff I did in between, and again, it's stuff you will see, but I'm talking about it now before knowing that you'll likely not have seen it yet. But we had talked about how in the base game it still keeps track of where things are, and so remember 2242, but you know what level you would be on the title screen, and we were basically getting ready to go into level 3, which means we'd be now assigning our third skill point, and we're still only 15% to our first skill point with the way this mod works. But basically, one of the loads I did, I got like 6,000 XP because I wasn't using any kind of a game economy mod. And so that was just one 142-mile load. And you might be like, wow, that's crazy amount of XP. It'll make sense when you see the video. But that got me to level 6 or 7. I mean, I got 6 skill points just from one load. So that's the difference between this and that. And that is why a mod like this exists, where if you really want to simulate the feel of being a trucker in the truck sim, I think this is a wonderful way to do it. I you know, Busy and Broke, I think, is the person who creates this and works on it. I can't give enough praise to the thought that it appears to have gone into this. And again, I'm always hesitant to oversell because there's a lot of things in quick job mode here and in contractor mode that we're just not experiencing with the mod. But what I am experiencing with the mod thus far is excellent, and I have no reason to assume that all the other things that he's talked about and said is there and how it works don't work exactly that way. And I'm just looking forward to the journey. So hopefully you are as well. Once again, of course, I've forgotten to ask ahead of time for you to like and subscribe, so we'll do it here at the end. If you're not part of that, join on up. Let's grow this thing. And I'm trying to grow it, and I'm going to leave it at that, because otherwise I get onto what seems like a totally shameless plug for 5 minutes. But there is some reality of, yes, I paid $20 for Seafarer, but then Power Wash Simulator 2's coming out, and I don't know that I'm going to get that right away. But that's a sim that I probably would continue and use on the channel periodically, because the first one was intriguing enough. The storyline, they earned my interest with that. But now having these extra maps and whatever, I think we are in an excellent place to make this probably one of the more interesting truck sim series on YouTube as far as what's going on right now. So I will make that shameless plug. Send your truck sim lovers this way. I think there's going to be a lot to enjoy here, and see what's happening and so forth, if they're looking for something that is realistic truck sim. As much as we can do it in Truck Simulator. I will see you next time.